Nice little logo. Foundation.com/live. Oh, wow. Look at us. We are kind of live. Oh, baby. Oh, wow. It's like a 10-minute delay. Or not 10-minute, but 3-minute or so. 2-minute? 30. Testing. Send the distance.
Andy? Some way.
Hey, Yelena. Hey, Yelena. Can you talk on this? Can you hear us? Hey, Chris. What's up, dude?
Andy, what's going on?
How you doing?
Doing all right.
Yelena can't hear us. If you could text or chat or something. Are there going to be people chatting, or is all the comments going to be happening via the Facebook thread? The comments in Facebook. You guys are chatting. So do we know how many people are listening and watching right now? In 1 sec. You'll deliver the questions to us. Nice. And are all the questions coming from this Facebook page? Is that right? Yes. Great. So do we know how many people are listening and watching? Yes, that was me talking again. So do we have a pulse on how many people are on right now? Yelena, you there? There we are. Oh, trying to recover your screen. Okay. Chris, what's up, man?
Not much. You get a haircut?
I got a haircut. You like this? We got a little
Yes.
mohawk action going on. We're getting ready for Burning Man, and I'm learning how to spin fireballs. And
Oh, sweet.
so I figured this was a fitting haircut for it.
So I was reading online about Burning Man that Dr. Dre started it or something like that.
Did Dr. Dre started? I don't know. I don't know if that one's true.
Yeah, I think he's the one that makes money off of the tickets. He shot a
Dr.
video.
Dre?
Yeah. Oh, no, no. Yeah, I think it was him. He was out there shooting a video back when it started, and then they were having trouble getting a lease for the land or something like that, and I think he helped them out with that.
Really?
Yeah, you should check it out.
That's interesting. It's a wild adventure. I like it. Yelena, did Dane decide if he was going to come on or not? Not sure yet. Cool. I'm gonna grab a water and then we'll get started in like 2 or 3 minutes, Chris.
All right.
Give some people some time and stuff. We'll see. Yeah, and Yelena, if you can get that number to me and let me know like how many people are on right now, that would be fantastic. 1 second. Oh, here comes Dane. Maybe.
Yes, Dane is on his way. We have about 26 viewers right now, and we're ready to go.
Sweet. Sweet. Is that a number I can see? Or do you have to keep feeding that to me? You probably have to keep feeding that to me.
Yeah, only I can see that one, so I'll keep you posted.
Cool. Cool. Let me see. Cool. Let's we'll get it kicked off in like 1 minute or so. Is Dane coming on right now, Yelena?
Yes, I have him on his way right now.
Okay. Chris, did you bring some whiskey by chance?
Yeah, I have some here. What about you?
What are you drinking?
It's Kavalan. It's from Taiwan.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everyone. We kind of scheduled a Friday evening webinar without thinking a little bit, and so we figured if we're going to be spending our Friday evenings doing a webinar, that we want to be doing it in style with fun, with a little bit of whiskey. I've got a little bit of scotch with me. I think this is actually left over from our team offsite after the live event, so there's not much left. But so Chris, how's it going? Oh, Dane's on now. Dane, what's up, dude?
What's up, man?
How are you doing?
Really good, really good. I just came from the ocean.
The ocean.
Oh man.
Sounds nice.
Hey, Chris, whose bookshelf is better? I think you have me beat, dude.
Yeah. Are you still moving in, or are you just that's all you got?
Those aren't actually Dane's books. It's not his office.
So, Andy, since this is your first time, I'll do a little intro for you so you see how this goes.
Yeah, go for it. This is the Google Hangout platform is interesting. It's different than GoToWebinar.
Man, you look all fancy with your hair all gelled and stuff.
You like that? I just got done with the yoga sculpt. It was intense.
Dude, I found a hockey league. I'm playing hockey tonight.
Sounds awesome.
Hockey in San Diego. I'm just waiting on Yelena to report back with a little bit. Okay,
yeah.
So we have a little fewer people on tonight than usual, probably because it's Friday. And so the beauty of this is that we're climbing. We're still climbing. We're at 36 up to 40 now. And
what were the last ones?
On Monday we had a couple hundred, and then on Wednesday our peak was 100-ish or so. Cool. And so I'm hoping that the 36 or the 40, the 45 are on now. I imagine we'll probably peak at around 90 people or so today. So if you do have a question, please do ask, because we'll probably, hopefully, able to give you a little bit of a higher level of personal attention. And beyond that, I'm also hoping that the 45 of you that are on now are a little bit different than the group on Wednesday or Monday, just because of, I don't know, just we're trying to grab as many different people at different intervals of the week. And Chris, what time zone are you in? Are you East Coast?
No, actually, I'm in Europe right now. So it's 3 a.m.
No. Wow. Thanks, dude. That's awesome.
Dude, you look great for 3 a.m.
Oh. Thanks. Yeah, I've had a lot of coffee. I tried to go to sleep and wake up, but it didn't work. But I'm okay. I'm excited to be here.
So the books behind you are not your books then?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I have an office over here.
Oh, huh, cool. So how many homes around the world or places do you have?
Well, one. My wife's Hungarian. We live here in Europe right now.
This is the
So
small library.
yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, I actually did the foundation from here, but everything was in the U.S. So like my business, everything is there, but I work mostly from here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have you heard the quote, uh, rich people have big libraries, poor people have big screen TVs?
No, I love that though.
So we're at 6:04. I usually wait till about 6:05 to get started because people just flood in. We're at 52 now. So thanks for everyone that are joining today. We'll kick it off here in a minute. We're not just delaying on purpose. It's actually, or we are delaying on purpose. It's all part of our strategy. We will end promptly as best we can on the hour tonight because it is Friday evening, and so we want to have you guys to go on your way. Is it Saturday at 3 a.m. or Friday at 3 a.m.?
Saturday.
Saturday. Okay. Cool. So we're at 6:05 now. Let's officially kick it off. Chris, it's so good to have you on, man. It's so inspiring to have men of your caliber and quality in the foundation. The fact that guys with the intelligence level that you have, the skill set you have, the heart that you have, the integrity that you have, and the character that you bring to the table, and the fact that people like you are investing in the foundation just means the world to Andy and I. It's incredible to have people that you're like just really inspired to work with, and we think that also speaks volumes about the foundation, that the kind of people that are signing up for it. With that being said, Chris, you are a little bit unique in your skill sets that you came into the foundation with. But before you get into your skill sets, I just want to announce real briefly. So we've been doing 3 Google Hangouts. They've all been a string in a series for the next upcoming class that we have in the foundation, where we are accepting 120 students in the next class. It'll be one of the most exciting classes I believe we have ever done, mostly because, yeah, well, Andy,
We're going there.
because the personal attention that you are all getting. This will be the highest level of personal attention any class has ever gotten, and that is my dream for the foundation long term, is to allow people to get just-in-time support, as close to just-in-time support when they're stuck or struggling. And so, it's really frustrating to go through a program and you get stuck, and then you kind of frustrate yourself through it for an hour or two, try and figure it out, look at the forms, look at Q&As, then you send a support or a question, and then a day or two later it gets answered. Well, what if you could get just as almost close to real-time support on your projects? Well, we are having team leaders assigned to groups of 12 students, and you're not going to get instantaneous just-in-time support, but it's going to be an incredible difference from last year. And last year's class, we had a 24.8% conversion or a success rate, and in some of our team leader programs that we temporarily tested out, we had as high as a 60 to 70% success rate in the team leader program. So we completely dropped the idea of no team leaders, and we're doing a strictly only team leader program this year.
And it's actually doing it creates kind of a pain doing it, because there's so many moving parts and then people to scale. It's not like building a software company where you build the company, but it's just so worth it. It's so worth it to have that extra personal attention and to have a team that you're with and somebody who's leading you along the way. It makes the process a lot smoother.
I'd say fortunately for you, and unfortunately / fortunately for us, we're committed to having a really high success rate, and that comes at a price of maybe a higher profit margin for us temporarily, maybe, or lower profit margin, and also just more work. However, it's why not?
Dude, it's great work though.
Yeah, it's great work.
And we've got Amy Kaufman doing it, who's just amazing beyond belief. So if you guys haven't met her yet, you will soon.
Yeah, so Amy Kaufman was one of the team leaders in the last program, and 11 out of 15 of the students in her program had a paying customer by the end of the foundation. 11 out of 15. What's the success rate on that calculator? 11 divided by 15. 73.33, repeating, of course. Leroy Jenkins joke for anyone listening, of success rate in the foundation for last year, and it's absolutely incredible. Shut up, Andy.
No, keep going. Keep going.
So, guys, we're launching the next foundation. We couldn't be having more fun doing what we're doing. We hope that if you want to be a part of it, you're able to make it in. I know there's a lot of demand in this year's class because it's this session's class because we have so many people. But don't sweat if you're not able to make it in this class. We will be launching again, hopefully, if nothing breaks, in the next 3-ish, 4-ish months. So we don't mean to exclude anyone, but we do have now the team leader program, the personal limitations on class size. Anyway, it's going to be an absolute blast. We're actually. I don't know if I want to announce. I won't announce the new addition to the product this year.
Don't do it yet. We'll wait till November.
Okay, I'll wait till November to announce a new addition to the product that you guys all joining now will get for free. Is that right, Andy? Or you do it free? Okay, good. And so anyway, just lots of great stuff going on in the foundation. We're totally committed to your guys' success. We're here for the long haul. And with that being said, we want to introduce you to one incredible man. And, frankly, if I was having to start my business over again, I would probably come and ask Chris Wackerman for some advice. So with that being said, Chris, before we get into the advice, asking and giving, I'd love to know about your background, where you came from, a little bit about your personal life, and then what you were doing before you joined the foundation.
And before you even get into that, I'd like to know just where things are at now in your business, and just kind of the results that you got over the 6 months of the foundation.
Okay, you want me to answer that first?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So during the foundation, I pre-sold just a little under 25,000, and so when I hit that point, I stopped pre-selling because I made a goal to have a certain number of founding members, and so when I hit that, I only had 5 founding members. They were associations, but they kind of hit that, and I stopped and switched over to development.
How long into the program did you hit 5?
Well, I had my first pre-sale in January, so I think it was about 7 weeks in.
Was your first one?
Yeah, the first one, and I did that without an info pack, and I can talk more about that later, but it was, I think, through February and the first 2 weeks of March that I got the rest of the pre-sales additional. It was about 19,000, so by mid-March I had all the pre-selling done. Yeah, and then some things came up. And anyway, I'm in development. Right now the product's going to launch September 23rd. So I also had some other opportunities come up as a result of the foundation, like some consulting work and things like that. So that took a little bit of time to get through that. And that's why I was delayed launching. But yeah, I'm going to launch in September. So that's where I am right now.
What type of stuff came up?
Consulting work.
And is that what you normally do?
Yeah, so I'm an IT consultant. So yeah, just a little. Dane, how far back do you want me to go? Just like on my background.
Birth.
Yeah. So I was born in Missouri. No, there is some important things about where I came from actually, which kind of speak to where I was when I joined the foundation. And so I was born in Missouri, and I didn't live in poverty, but it was kind of a poor family, and everybody in my family, everybody I knew, they kind of worked at factories and things like that. But I was kind of taught one important lesson about money, and that was that I was taught one important lesson about how to make money, and that is that if you want to make money, you just get a job, any job that you can, and you just hold on to it for dear life, because you never know when that job's going to be taken away from you. And everybody I knew lived that way, like my parents, my grandparents, aunts, uncles, everybody around us. That's kind of how they lived their lives. And then the other lesson was if you wanted to make more money, you just had to work more. So you had to work overtime, or you would get like a second, third, fourth job. And so that was kind of with me. And so I started working when I was 16, and I never really stopped. So I worked a lot. I would work part-time during the school year, full-time during the summers, and it just kept escalating and escalating, where I would have as many as four jobs at one time. and I just kind of got linked to kind of defining myself by paychecks, how much they were, because I was making a lot more than my friends just because I was working a lot. So anyway, I went to college. When I graduated, I got a job doing like some database work. So it was in IT, and then I kind of transitioned into managing some of the IT vendors that we had. And I realized that they were charging a lot of money and doing a really bad job. And I thought I should be doing this. So I decided to kind of jump out and start my own IT business, kind of IT consulting. And I did that. So I did that about 10 years ago. And the place I was working at, they became my first client. And it grew. It kind of grew over the 10 years, but it kind of hit a high point. And that's kind of where I was when I joined the foundation. So I had been in business for myself for 10 years doing this IT consulting, and it sounds really great. Like if you just look at it, what I was doing, that I had my own business, I'd been in business for 10 years, I was making really good money. It sounds good, but it wasn't, I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't real. It was not a real business. It was like more like a job that I had created for myself, like kind of taking what I had learned from Missouri. Like I had created like 3 full-time jobs for myself by all this IT work that I could do. And that was good for a while, but I think right before I joined the foundation, I'd kind of, it just stopped being enough. It's like I woke up one day and just didn't want to do it anymore. And I didn't have any motivation. And I just wanted to quit doing what I was doing. But I couldn't do that because it was like all of a sudden I looked around and I was an adult. Like I had a family, I had a wife and kids, and I had like all these responsibilities, and I couldn't just say, hey everybody, we're gonna move into a studio apartment while I go back to school or whatever. So I had all these things I had to do, and not only that, but I didn't want to throw away like 10 years of work that I had done. That, like, the thought of that just really depressed me, that I had spent all those years working hard and then I would start over. So I felt hopeless, and I just thought I was like, this was going to be my life. I was just going to be grinding out IT projects until the day I die, and that was it. So I think right before I joined the foundation, I felt stuck and kind of hopeless. Those were the 2 dominant feelings at that time, and I had gone through those feelings before on a smaller scale, and just kind of focusing on the money that I was making kind of pulled me through those, but for some reason around last August, it was the breaking point. Like there was nothing I could do could seem to motivate me to care about what I was doing. So
it's interesting. I feel like so Robert Kiyosaki talks about in his book like the evolution of entrepreneurs, and how you start off as an employee, and then you generally move to self-employed, and then you move to business owner, and then you move to investor. The experience tends to be the same. Like as the end of the era of being an employee, you have this feeling of just like waking up and dreading work and hating it, like dragging yourself out of bed to actually do it. And then the exciting part of like making money, getting your first consulting gigs is awesome, but then after a number of years, that exact same feeling, it almost like cycles back and you experience it all over again.
Yeah, that's right. That's the Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And then it's really easy when you're in the self-employment phase to kind of make the mistake. You're not really an entrepreneur at that point. You're more like your own boss, but really like that. You're the boss and the employee at the same time, and it can actually end up being worse and more. What's the word? Just no freedom, because you're the one that has to do the work. So, so that's when I kind of found out about the foundation. So I was searching. I was kind of desperately looking for a way out, and so I was looking for all these things online, anything I could find about how to make money online, just kind of any quick solution I could try to generate some cash, just kind of eject me from my business. and that's how I kind of stumbled onto the foundation. And then I thought, wow, this is for me, because I could take what I had learned, kind of dealing with IT and dealing with software projects. I could at least take that knowledge and use that, and not throw that away. Um,
You remember what you searched?
well, it started with Pat Flynn. So I remember the thing I Googled to find Pat Flynn, which was how to make money online without teaching how to make money online. Because it seemed like that's how everyone was making money, right? It's just that, and he came up because he had his income reports, and at that time he was making most of his money from his lead exam, and I think that was in 2009. So anyway, I followed Pat for a long time, and then in August I went back to him, and I think I don't know, that I found Dane's podcast. It was and that's kind of how I.
Cool. And just for Eric and Tilata, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Just so you know, we've got your questions, and we'll be swinging around to them at some point. But go ahead, Chris.
Okay, I think did I answer all of Dane's questions? I think I did.
I think so.
Yeah. So I'm gonna interrupt for a sec. Right now, I'm posting a comment in the Facebook on the Foundation Live page. We're going to roll out live chat this time. We're going to test it out.
Oh, nice.
So there's a live chat link. Oops, I also posted that to Facebook. Oops. So click on that link to join us in live chat, and we'll get a lot more interaction this way, and
great call.
It's a lot more fun. With that being said, now go ahead, Andy. Also, actually, if you guys wouldn't mind, I love it if you guys could share this this URL on Facebook, thefoundation.com/live. If you wouldn't mind sharing it on your feed, something along the lines of, if you're interested in entrepreneurship, check out how this guy did $52,000 in 6 months with no idea. Something along those lines. If you guys wouldn't mind just sharing the live thing on your foundation feed or on your Facebook feed for the foundation, that means the world to us. We love getting more exposure for the foundation and creating more entrepreneurs as a result. Also, with that being said, just a quick little plug for everyone that's just coming on. The foundation launches here August 11th. If you haven't applied and you're interested, click on the Apply Now link, fill out the application. Yelena, the beautiful Yelena, will be reviewing your applications and accepting or declining them. And if you do get accepted, we'd love to see you in the next foundation class starting August 11th. Go ahead, Andy.
Chris, take me to the beginning of the foundation. What did you do when you started?
What did I do? What
was the first, when you started taking action, what was the first thing you started doing?
That would have been the mindset module, right?
Taking action, though, not just studying. When you were taking action to do stuff from the stuff that you were learning from the foundation, did you start with idea extract? Where'd you go into? Did you start cold emailing people? Did you reach out to contacts that you already had? What'd you do?
Yeah, so I did start. Well, so when I joined, since I was so sick of my business, I really wanted to start over in a new industry, one that I just had no experience with at all, and the idea of that sounded just so refreshing and exciting. But then I started the whole strange question emailing thing, and it was really stressful, and it was hard for me to kind of line up calls or kind of find an industry that I was excited about. So another thing that happened is that I thought I would reach out to contacts that I already had in my market, which are associations, like trade and professional associations. And it was just a lot easier for me to communicate with them and get responses with cold email. So what I did is I didn't really do a strange email question. I just started reaching out to them. I don't know if you remember, but in the mindset module at the end, when you talk about copywriting, you talk about the spirit of copywriting, right? And so I tried to make my emails, like when I would reach out to people, make it in the spirit of copywriting a little bit, like try to confirm their fears and things like that. So I knew my industry. I knew some of the things that they were struggling with, and I had a lot more success with that. So yeah, those were the first action steps I took, and I think I lined up 2 ID extraction calls pretty fast, and they were pretty bad. They were
Bad.
Yeah, they were terrible. So my first one was maybe 6 minutes long, and the guy just ended it because it was just terrible. I had no idea I don't know what went wrong, but it was zero value. Like, it was terrible. So the second one I did at night, and it was with an IT manager, and like right after, like 5 minutes into our call, my youngest son started crying in the other room, and he's like had an ear infection, and so he basically cried for the entire call, and I had to cover up the phone so that the guy couldn't hear, and so I just had to listen while he talked, and I would just take my thumb off every once in a while and go, yeah, well, that's interesting, and it turned out to be a really great call because he was a talker, so he just talked the whole time, and he said I was a really great listener, and it worked out. And he actually brought up a pain that was kind of in my mind and kind of led me on the thing. So I really only did about 7 or 8 ID extraction calls. I didn't do very many because the pain came up in the second call, and then I started trying to find ways to validate that pain.
What's the pain?
So the market is associations. So they're like they're nonprofits that represent either a group of companies or a group of people. So it's like the association of banks or bankers or association of insurance agents, and they all have software that they use to manage their members. It's like a CRM, but it's just for associations. Mm-hmm. And they all struggle with the quality of their data. So they have all this data about their members, and they have trouble keeping it clean. So they have like a lot of duplicate records. They have it's actually a very boring problem, but a big one. So I kind of like that about it. It's really boring. It's not very exciting, but the people who experience this problem get very excited about the solution. So in that second ID extraction call, one of the things the guy brought up is he said that in the last 6 months he had spent like hundreds of hours with his staff dealing with poor data quality issues. And since I've been in the industry, I remember I went to a conference in October, and they had a session on data quality, and I was there, and it wasn't very good, but I remember, so I started putting all these pieces together, and it just everything pointed to that being a real problem.
Andy, I'm going to jump in here and
go for it.
I change it. So, Chris, tell me about what was the guy's first name who was your first pre-sale?
Ken.
Yeah. And how many calls and emails did you have to do to talk to Ken?
Okay, well, Ken was he was a client, so I knew him. So I had a relationship with Ken, and that's how I was able to kind of get that first pre-sale for such a large amount. So.
Well, how about did you get any pre-sales from anyone that you didn't know before?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, what's the first one of someone that you didn't know?
Andy. So Andy.
Okay.
So that's the client. That's the guy's name.
Okay. And so how many emails or calls did you have to do to find Andy?
Let's see. And I think, yeah, I probably did maybe about 200 emails total, but it was to a very targeted group of people. So I was able to get a list of 200 either IT managers or database managers at associations. So it was a group that it was really targeted.
And how did you put together the list?
So that list, I looked at user groups, and another great resource was just looking at conferences. So there are conferences for associations for association software, and they put a lot of their stuff online. So they'll put rosters online, people who attended, things like that.
What is it? What's like a user group? Like, what do you do to find that?
Well, any software you can think of, if you go to Google and type that in and type in user group, you'll probably find something. So especially for software that's used by companies, there's usually some kind of user group where it's people whose jobs depend on using that software and they need to learn about it and know how to use it, or it's people who are involved with that who need to just learn that software. Yeah.
Well, wait, hold on a second. So, like, what was your niche?
Well, the niche is so AMS. It stands for Association Management Software, and it's like it's like a CRM, but for associations.
That's
Yeah.
So you would go to user groups for competitors' software?
So that's a type of software. So like here's an example. So if there's a CRM, there's God, I can't even think of it. But so AMS is just a type of software, and there are big players. There's like one called IMUS, Capterra. There are all these different ones. And if you type them in and search for user groups for those, you can find them. Does that make sense? So.
Well, okay. So you had a list of 200 people that were pretty targeted, and you found these people through conferences, like a list of the attendees that were showing online, and then you also found them in user groups.
Right.
So tell me how to go to Google right now. Like, what should I type in Google to find a user group? Give me one that you typed in.
So you can go to Google and type in IMUS user group. So IMIS user group.
Okay, IMIS user group. I get NIUG International.
Yeah, so that's the National IMUS user group.
All right, so I'm going to go here, and on inug.org, what do I do next?
Okay, let me see. Okay, and so since this was in my industry, I've been to some of their conferences before. I'm also a member of this, so I can log in and I can see everyone there. So,
is there a way that you can become a member of this? Like, could I become a member of this?
yes, you could. Yep. For $250 or $350 a year, you could become a member. So
Great.
this is also one of the softwares where I do my consulting. So I sort of am part of this because of that. I've been to their conferences, and I would say for someone who wants to really speed up idea extraction or get going on it quickly, is if you pick a market, is to go to a conference that they have for that market, because usually the conferences are filled with sessions that address problems in that industry, so you can get an idea on some of the problems that people are facing in that market. And usually they hand out a guide that has the contact information for everyone who was at that conference.
Cool. Okay. So you've got this. You got 200 people or so, and did you send personal emails to all the 200? And like, were they a little tailored to each of them?
Yeah. So I tried to use things like ToutApp, and it was hard for me to keep track of. Somehow, even though that was automated, it was really hard for me to keep track of what I had said and to who I'd sent emails to. So I did end up. I used ToutApp, but I would go in and write a slightly tailored message to each person.
Great. So 200 emails, and then of the 200 emails, you got 7 idea extraction calls?
Yeah, pretty much. So I did, and I was trying out different things. So I did 50. I remember I did a batch of 50 the other thing I was doing is trying to email different people within the organization to see who would respond. So, there are different, there's like, within associations, there's like a director of IT, and then there's a database guy, and there's different levels. So I think I tried some people higher up, and I didn't really get any response at all. So 50 of them was just not a bad idea, but it just didn't work out at all.
So, for those of you guys listening, I see Josh says, interesting, I never thought about going to an industry-specific conference, but that makes a ton of sense. Josh, we had a couple really clever, like, hackers, I would call them, in the foundation, that actually got the head of the association to send an idea extraction email to the entire association list. And then in the email, it would be like, hey, we want to compile all the pains and issues of your industry. Go here to take a survey. And then the foundation entrepreneur would compile the survey results and then deliver it to the association. So we're basically doing research for the association. Worked incredibly, incredibly well. So there's lots of really incredible ways to do things like this. So 200 or so, kind of personal, seven or so.
One more thing. So going to a conference is another good thing, because if you get the contact info from the conference, when you email the person and you say, hey, I was at that conference with you, it doesn't make it such a cold email. So I think even though there were people that I didn't know directly, just by mentioning that conference that we had been to together, sort of helped.
So I want to talk about this guy, Andy, the guy that you got a pre-sale on and you never even knew him before. Okay. So you sent him an email, an idea extraction email, right? And do you remember, like, just roughly what he replied with, like just a ballpark?
What he replied with?
Yeah.
So I asked him if we could talk about this particular AMS system that he was using and just any pains or problems or frustrations he had around that. And he just wrote back, sure, how about next week? So it was just like that, yeah.
So you already went in knowing that you wanted to tackle this AMS issue because you had done a few other calls before this?
Well, so it was strange. So I just found that it was easier to set up calls that way. And at that point, I was still just kind of practicing. I didn't know if anything would come out. I think this was even before the idea extraction module opened up in the foundation material. And I was just looking for practice, basically. And more of the calls and more of what I was finding on my own was that I was onto a pain. So I don't want to say I got lucky, but a little bit I did. I mean, because I was just kind of not really doing, fully an idea extraction, but I was, yeah, so that's where I was.
Well, how do you feel like you got lucky? Because, like, honestly, is $52,000 in pre-sale lucky? No. Like.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It feels like a little bit like the universe just put the pain in front of me, because I was able to, as soon as in that second call where the guy mentioned that as a problem, I immediately remembered other people mentioning it, and then all of a sudden, everywhere I looked, there were things validating this as a problem. So I looked back over like the last 5 years of conferences from that one user group that you were just at the website for, and every conference they had a session on poor data quality. And every one of the presenters, they have the slides up there, every one of the presenters gave sort of the same solution, which was not really a solution at all. And then I also found a thought leader in the association space, and he had done a survey every year for the last 10 years where he asked associations one question, which is what's plaguing your association the most? And out of the last 10 or so years, data quality was always in the top 3. So when this came up, all these things started to validate it for me, without me having to go out and do. So you see, I didn't have to send out 1,000 strange email questions or do 100 ID extraction calls, I was able to hit on one basically in the second call, and then start validating it right away.
Josh, I'm cliff noting your question because it's not relevant to Chris, but I'm going to try and answer it before the hangout's over. Josh, just let you know, just hang out till the end. I'll see about answering that. So Chris, Andy's on the phone. You set up a time. On the first call, how long did the first call go for?
It was about 45 minutes.
Did you sell him anything on that first call?
No.
Okay, what happened on that first call?
So we just talked about his association. We talked about what AMS they were using, and a little bit of that. And then I did start to drive him towards this issue of data quality, and asked him. Well, I asked him what his biggest frustrations with his AMS were, and then we started talking about data quality, and how they deal with it, why they aren't dealing with it, things like that. So just trying to figure out if they had any process in place, how much time they spend on it. And one question that I always asked was, what's a negative consequence of poor data quality that you've experienced? And that turned out to be great for kind of copywriting purposes, because I got real answers of how this was impacting associations. So I think, yeah, that's how that call went.
So, okay. What happened on the second call?
The second call I had with him was a pre-sale call.
Okay, so what did you pre-sell him?
Well, so between the ID extraction call and the pre-sale, I sent him a short email just saying, hey, I think I've come up with a solution for that problem we talked about a couple weeks ago or a month ago, and I've done a simple sketch of the solution, and would you mind taking a look at it? And he said yes. So we set up a demo, and I took him through the info pack, and at the end, it wasn't a pre-sale that call, so in associations usually they had to show it to someone else or get an approval from someone else. So he said he needed to talk to his boss about it, and then they also needed to show it to some staff, so I had to do a second call, and then after that we communicated by email, and then that was a $5,600 pre-sale. That's what that ended up being. So yeah.
And this is for a software product that you're building?
Right.
And where's the software product at right now?
It's in development, so it's launching September 23rd.
Ooh.
Yeah.
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 How many paying customers do you have on it lined up, pre-sold?
Well, I have 5 associations who all either prepaid for 1 year up front or 2 years up front. And my strategy was I wanted a small number of associations so that I could develop a relationship, kind of a closer working relationship with them that might result in some consulting work as well. So it's 5 associations and probably about maybe 20 users among those 5.
Sick. Dude, congratulations. It's going to be a nice revenue generator for you.
Thanks. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So I mean, I guess I did things a little different through the foundation. I didn't really do that much ID extraction. I found the whole finding emails and sending them out was pretty stressful. So I tried to find ways just to not do that. And I did LinkedIn a little bit. That was useful. I lined up, I think, 2 calls through LinkedIn with only sending out maybe 5 LinkedIn messages. So that worked really well for me. And also, like I said, just trying to look at, even if you can't go to a conference, if you can find a website of the people who put on these conferences, they usually post materials, or you can request materials, and it might be helpful.
the pricing for your product, is it based on association or users, or how do you decide your pricing?
Yeah, so it's per database. So so the software is like collaborative. So the idea is to get multiple people and departments involved with keeping the data clean. So I didn't want to charge by the user because then that would discourage them from, they might say, well, we don't want that many people using it because we have to pay per user. So it's per database, per association. And for the founding members, or the first 5 who signed up, they get unlimited. So the pricing, can have unlimited databases.
Now we're getting some great questions.
Okay.
And so are you charging, like, so what's the lowest price someone would pay, and what's the highest price someone would pay per month?
Probably the lowest price is $199 a month.
Nice.
Yeah, and the highest is $399, but probably $299 is where most people will come in at.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you guys asking pricing questions, pricing is, I found, Chris, I don't know about you, but I found pricing to be a really fun conversation with customers because, and a little nerve-wracking, like I don't want to charge too little, I don't want to charge too much. But as soon as I had the whole conversation focused around what's fair and what are people okay with spending, for paperless pipeline, our competitors charge per user, they charge per transaction. And when I talked to real estate brokers, they wanted to know like what their fixed expenses are every month. They just wanted a fixed number. And so we found a pricing point that was very profitable for us, but also they were really happy to pay. So there's this magic sweet spot, and we coach you as best we can at the foundation about how to do the pricing. But did you find the pricing conversation to be enjoyable or stressful, or
I did. Well, you brought up a good point, and that is depending on the product and the industry, there might be a preferred way, not just the amount, but how people pay for it. So I had one idea extraction call. I think this is when I was trying to validate the idea to see whether it would be useful for a certain association. I was talking to an IT manager, and he wasn't that interested in the product, but he was very interested in what I was thinking about charging for it. And I told him, I just threw, at that point I didn't know, I just said I'm thinking $199 a month. He calculated it, and he said, well, $199 a month sounds expensive, but $2,400 a year sounds cheap. And he said that I should charge by the year and charge more. And so that's what I did, because at associations, he said they pay for everything by the year, and whenever they think, oh, I have to pay $199 a month, that's crazy. But when they sit down and do their budgets, they think about the year, and then it doesn't sound so bad, and it's fine. And he was right. So even a call that didn't really turn into anything from him, he gave me such useful advice. So when I went into pre-sales, I did that. I raised the price to about $3,500 a year, which is like about $299 a month, and then started to discount from there.
Isn't that amazing? Like I had the same thing happen with me for both paperless pipeline and recruiting ninja. I was like, I think I'm going to charge $40 a month, and the guy who gave me the idea, who knows I'm going to be profiting, he says, can you make any money at that price? Dude, I would charge minimum 75. It's like, okay, I'll charge 75.
Yeah.
And it's just really helpful to have. It's not it's not as stressful as you might think you might make it out to be. So I'm also reminded of when my uncle was charging real estate agents, and he wanted to charge agents $2,000 a month to be a part of his office. And they're like, gosh, $2,000 a month is $24,000 a year to be a real estate. I can't pay that. And he's like, all right, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's do a 60. He did an average and looked at the average amount of commissions that agents made in an office, and it was like, say, like $100,000 or something. And he's like, all right, well, let's just do like a 70-30 split, or a 70-30 split. Like, okay, or a 70-35 split. And so they ended up being like, yeah, absolutely. And so instead of making $24,000 a year, my uncle ended up making $30,000 to $35,000 a year. And the agents were happier. And it's just like there's this pricing sweet spot where you make a really great sum of money, but it also feels incredibly fair, and it finances a great lifestyle for you. And it's nothing to do with tricks or manipulation or anything like that. So yeah, okay, great. So Beautiful. We have, well, based on what I said, we have 12 minutes left, and I have a number of questions that I want to jump into. The first question that I want to answer, well, actually, no, what I would love for you to answer, Chris, is around limiting beliefs. Did you have any daily routines to overcome limiting beliefs? Did you even have limiting beliefs, or, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's a lot of talk about limiting beliefs, and I definitely had some, but that's not. There's a lot in the mindset module. I'll just say that it's not just about limiting beliefs. That's a big part of it, but there's so much in there that I guess going in, you don't really know what you're going to find in that module that you really need or that a person really needs. So I didn't know, and for me. So I kind of discovered my purpose. So that's another thing that's talked about in the mindset module is kind of, it's called your why. And, there are different words for it, like your definite major purpose or your life's task. And that was the big thing for me. So actually, after I discovered that, I felt that I had gotten my money's worth out of the foundation. So at that point, I was like, even if I don't get any pre-sales, this was worth it, because it was the reason I wanted to quit my business, because I was not really focused on what I should be doing. I was not really aligned with who I am or what I'm meant to do. It was all about
Chris,
yeah.
What is your major purpose?
Well, so it's
Hold on. Dude, I want you to own this. Take a deep breath in, take a second, and tell the world what your why is.
Okay. Can I tell my story of how I discovered my why just quickly?
Yeah, and while you do, I want to introduce Peter and Nicola, who are both on the call. Peter and Nicola are Find Your Why experts. They're good friends of ours, and they have a program that's separate from the foundation, and it's personal one-on-one time with them, but fully endorsed by, at least they're endorsed by me. Andy, would you?
Most incredibly by me too.
Well, yeah.
The whyforlife.com. Check them out.
Yeah, and it's really, it was, well, with that being said, you guys need to know who those people are. They're very, very helpful. Chris.
They teach the content inside the foundation that led to this breakthrough for Chris.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. So this, I just quickly, just what a definite major purpose is. It's like the way Peter and Nicola described it in the content is just that it's one thing that's in each side and inside each of us, and it's what makes us unique, and it's sort of a source of energy, and it kind of pushes us along. And there are some exercises in there on how to discover your purpose, and I was having trouble with them. And but the exercises are kind of like you try to figure out what things that you enjoyed when you were a child, or what things that you did, when in your life were you in kind of a state of flow where you're just kind of effortlessly doing something or enjoying an activity. And as I was working through those exercises, there was one moment for me that came up that I knew was very important and in my life, and that was when I was a child, and that was the exact moment that I learned how to read. And it's one of the most vivid memories that I have. I can still see it clearly. It was a Saturday, and I was carrying around a giant Dr. Seuss book trying to make sense of the words, and I can still see the page. It was just a wall of letters, like I couldn't make any sense of them. It was like a secret code that had been designed just to keep the meaning hidden from me. And I remember I sounded out one word correctly, just one word. It was the word "that." And in just an instant, the page started to move. All the letters transformed, and they realigned into crystal clear words and sentences. And that moment was such a big moment in my life, and kind of defined my life after that, because I love to read, and it just brought me so much joy and opportunity. And I actually worked with Peter and Nicola and to kind of talk about that moment to see if my why might be in there. And Peter helped me realize, he said, hey, Dr. Seuss wrote that book, and in a way he kind of created that moment for you. And then I realized that it wasn't so much the reading that was important for me, but it was that moment where just the confusion got transformed into clarity that was important for me. And I had been chasing that moment for my whole life. So when I discovered that, and I looked back over the last 10 years of my business, the times when I was the happiest and the most like engaged and excited was when I was creating those moments for my clients, where I was transforming confusion into clarity for my clients. So my why, my purpose is to transform confusion into clarity, to bring joy and opportunity to others and to myself. And I'm doing that through my SaaS. And since I discovered that, like it's weird, my business, which I wanted to quit, came alive for me again. So I found ways to work in my business that's aligned with me, and now I don't have to give up my business, and now I'm enjoying it and kind of have my path. So once I found that in the content and kind of got through all that, I was kind of on my way. So I still had issues. I didn't work through limiting beliefs, but you were talking about the team leaders at the beginning. I have to say, like, probably the most important, or one of the most important factors for my success was my team leader, Marco. And he and I had one call every month. And without him, I think I would probably still be stuck.
Why would you have been stuck without it?
Well, one of the biggest sticking points was in February. So I had a pre-sale in January, the big pre-sale, but right after that I started to kind of doubt myself because, you know, the pre-sale was with a client that I'd worked with for a long time, and I started to tell myself things like, well, I didn't really deserve that pre-sale. It wasn't real because I knew the guy and he felt like he owed me a favor. I felt like that the pain wasn't real or the solution. So I had all these things going on. And I was telling myself, okay, I need to get the system design 100% correct before I move on and do more pre-sales. And I was just kind of stuck in that. And I think you and Andy have talked about this before. I was self-sabotaging, and the thing about self-sabotage is that it takes somebody else to recognize it. And that's what Marco did. So we had our monthly call at the end of February. And he asked me how things were going, and I told him, I started talking about how I didn't really understand what I was supposed to do next for pre-sales or things like that. And he just kind of called me out, and he said it kind of sounded like I was self-sabotaging, and asked me what was really going on. And we had a long talk, and it kind of came out that I was afraid to make any more pre-sale calls because for me at that time, like if I made another pre-sale call, that sounds weird, it would make it real. Like it would make this thing real, and I would have to build the solution, and my life would change. So I don't know that I could have come to that on my own without his help. And that's just one example. So almost in every phase, he said something to move me forward.
It's so funny. That doesn't go away either. Like as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about how I do it right now, because generally I think it's recognized by like the things in your life that you keep putting off and you don't do for some reason, and you like know you should, but you actually don't do it. And so there's something else actually going on. Dan and I have to write our bios for a speaking event at the end of October. We're speaking with incredible people: Richard Branson, John Mackey, Al Gore, and it's at a conference here in Boulder. And we have to try and write bios, and I'm like so insecure about it and just having a really, really tough time. So it doesn't go away. And thank you for bringing it up, Chris, for helping me see it.
Okay. I'd love for you to answer this question, Chris.
Okay.
This guy says, I'm interested, but I've already read and put to practice the E-Myth, 4-Hour Workweek, Lean Startup, the Startup Owner's Manual, etc. I would like to know what I'm paying for other than the community access.
Great question.
That is
Yeah.
a great question. I've read all those books, and it's not, so the community is important, but it's not just the community. So there's a lot of things going on inside the foundation. One is that you're almost forced to take action, and that's a big difference between, at least for me, between just reading a book and the foundation. Yeah, so you're going to have to get on the phone and have to take action, and that's where things really start to happen. Yeah, I'm not answering this very well, but so there's that, and you also have, yeah, I don't know. I am trying to think because I did read all those books and I had no results. And I would say the mindset plus being forced to take action, plus the community supporting you, plus the example of and kind of access to everyone who has gone through the foundation before us. Those are the things that make it different and that really increase a chance of something happening. Does that make sense?
What do you think was missing from reading the books?
Well, I mean, everything you just said.
Yeah, so one thing in the foundation you get access to is you get access to people who are going through the same thing as you at the same time. And you can reach out to them and be encouraged by them, but you also have access to, through the materials, through people who are like maybe 1 step ahead of you or 2 steps ahead of you. And I found that extremely valuable. Like just that, you know, the people from last year were just maybe 1 or 2 steps ahead. Even Marco, my coach, was only a little bit ahead of me in this journey of being a successful entrepreneur. And yeah, that was extremely valuable. So that might be part of it. The people who write the books are written by someone who's kind of up here, and you have access to someone's right here, and they just have the best advice. Maybe that's the key to that just-in-time advice that you need at that point.
So, speaking of stress, if you had stress or not stress, how did you manage your stress level during the entire process? Was there a particularly stressful time during the foundation?
Yeah, well, for me, the most stressful thing was my kids. So when I started the foundation, my youngest son was 18 months. My oldest son was 4 years old. And through the 6 months of the foundation, my youngest son, Dylan, I think he had 4 ear infections. So during my pre-sale phase, I really was not sleeping at all very much. And it was terrible. So I'm just trying to. So I did anything I could in that time. So I actually found this thing, like this self-hypnosis thing, to make me believe that I had slept. So I did that once before one of my pre-sale calls. Like it doesn't really work. It only worked for maybe. But I was so tired. I thought I can't get on this pre-sale call. I'm just going to fall asleep. Yeah, I think the other stressful part was the pre-selling part. I'll just say was fun and was not stressful at all. So aside from the not sleeping, like the actual pre-sale calls was one of the most exciting and fun thing that I've ever done. And I thought that it would be terrifying because you have to get on there and ask for money, but that's not really what it is. So it just was such a great experience for me. And in the beginning, when I was stressed out about trying to line up idea extraction calls, I think I got through it just by like taking action and trying to find other ways to get the calls or to get the info I need.
Desperate times call for desperate measures, Chris.
Yeah.
Let's try this self-hypnosis thing. God, I hope it works. God, I hope it works. Dang, it's not working. You know, the thing that's pretty freaking awesome is that what I hear in that answer is that, Chris, you are not a conditional entrepreneur, but an unconditional entrepreneur. Meaning, you're not like, oh, you know, I'll wait till this is right and this is right. And, you know, I could just write the timing over. You're like, nope, this is it. I'm in unconditional and I'm making no exceptions, even losing sleep. And look at you now. Do you regret that part of the period? Like, would you do it differently or?
No, you know, looking back on it, it makes me more proud of what I accomplished. So, and it sort of upped what I know for myself, what I'm capable of. So it's like, you know, I can say, hey, I pre-sold $19,000 while getting like 3 hours of sleep for 6 weeks in a row. And yeah, so it makes me proud. And like I said, one of the most useful things for me from the mindset module was that, I don't know if you guys remember that table that you put together, which was the characteristics of high achievers. Remember that? So it's on my wall over there. But one of the things on there, you have kind of you compare what kind of normal people do when they start something new and what high achievers do, and that just stuck with me. One of the things is that they commit 100%, and so I really took that to heart. So because I can see that that's another thing. Is like when, you know, before when I've read books and things like that, I hadn't really committed 100% to like taking action on what the E-Myth says or the 4-hour work week. But going through the foundation and reading that, I was like, I'm going to do this 100% and see what happens.
So we're about 6 minutes past. Andy, I'll need to jet here in like 5 minutes if I'm going to make hockey tonight.
Yeah, I need to get going too.
But there's so many freaking good questions. So this is actually one of my favorite hangouts, Chris, plus the chat here. So Chris, thanks for being on. I honestly feel like it's just been kind of like a tease of information. Like there's so much more we could dive into with you. Are you going to be active in the next foundation class at all? Do we have Chris a part of the next foundation, Andy?
What do you mean part of it?
Like, is he going to be a team leader, or is he doing anything in it?
Not yet. Andy and I are doing a podcast next week, but that's all.
We'll be diving deep into the nitty-gritty details of this. We have 10 team leaders, 12 team leaders, and then 12 people being trained. So the 10 team leaders are actually from the 2013 class. So they've been, you know, they went through the foundation and then kind of went through it again this year with this year's class. And then they will be doing the team leading, and then we will be training 12 other people. So they'll have 3 months of going through the training and seeing the experience from our 2013 class. So everybody's getting trained.
Yeah, Chris, do you want to pitch the foundation to Josh? Josh would like to be pitched.
I love it.
What's that?
How would you pitch the foundation to Josh Rhodes here? There's a guy in chat that wants you to pitch him the foundation.
Pitch the foundation.
Yeah,
it kind of depends on where he is in his life. So the pitch is a little bit different depending on. So can I have just a little details like about him? Can he provide a little detail like where he is in his life?
So we have a 15-second delay on the Hangout, so we won't see that for a minute. So why don't you just pitch the foundation in general, and then at the end I'll tell you what Josh said, and you can pitch it directly to him.
Okay.
Dude, I love that you're thinking of that though, because it's true.
Yeah. Well, I'll say it will change your life if you let it. And if you're looking for a change in your life, then do it. That's about it. So when I went into the foundation, I didn't know what would change for me. I just kind of had faith in Dane and what he had said on the podcast and the results of the previous year's students. And you don't know exactly what you're going to find in the foundation, but it'll probably be what you're looking for. So, I mean, I could say, so I know before I joined the foundation, I was thinking, well, what was their success rate from last year? Am I going to have this? Am I going to have that by the end of the foundation? And it's just so much more than that. And, you know, I have pre-sales, I have a business, and I still consider that secondary to what I actually got out of the foundation, which is my purpose. Also, the other thing is that if I had to start over tomorrow, I believe I have the skills to do that. And that's like a security that I've never had before. So if I lost everything tomorrow, I could start doing strange email questions and know that I would be okay. Mm. So it's kind of a wordy pitch. It's not really memorable or anything like that, but that's what I would say.
Andy, Daniel found out how much cash I had in my personal checking account, and he said, "What's it like to know that you never have to worry about money again?" And I looked and I thought and I said, "Well, I'll tell you, it has nothing to do with how much money I have in my personal checking account, and it has everything to do with Chris. I have no fear about money at all, none. You know,
it's the ultimate freedom."
Yeah. So do you feel, Chris, do you feel like business is easy, fun, lucrative, profitable, or do you feel like it's more challenging, hard, and rewarding, or where are you at with all that?
Yeah, so right now it's a little, I mean, it's challenging, but in a good way. So I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's not hard either. So it's the right kind of challenge. So, I mean, building software is not easy. Launching it's not easy, but it's exciting and it's rewarding and all those things. So, yeah, that's where I am right now. So I'm enjoying the hard work, I guess.
Man, if you're looking for easy, please go another direction. If you're looking for hard but incredibly rewarding, this is an amazing place for you.
And this is something we've talked about on the podcast before, is that at the end of the day, you know, I love what you said, Chris, about how you got the business and you've got the software product and consulting and all of that stuff is coming, and that's secondary. Like, at the end of the day, the real reward is in becoming the type of person that you become. And this isn't just through the foundation, but I think this happens anytime you take on a really massive challenge in your life, you know. And it just shifts who you are at the core, and not necessarily shifting it, but it reveals it almost. It reveals another layer, and it allows you to get to know yourself at a deeper level, and that's the real reward at the end.
But yeah. I'm going to rant for like 60 seconds, Andy. I'm going to take off. I'll let you close.
Okay.
Just make sure that you encourage people to apply. So make absolutely no mistake, if you join the foundation and if you move forward in the program, your shit's going to come up. Almost all of it's going to come up. The self-esteem issues, the self-worth issues, the insecurities, the doubts, the fears, the laziness, the lethargy, the numbness, the confusion. And every single one of these experiences is a way for you to self-sabotage yourself out of a life that you want. And there are going to be days when you wake up and you don't feel like getting up, and it's going to be a fight for you to get up. And there are days when you're going to be excited to get up, and they all go back and forth. It's not all one big flow. It's not been for me ever really at any point in my life. It's still a consistent. Like, and every day I feel like, you know, I wake up and I'm fighting. And it's a good fight. It's a fun fight. It's a rewarding fight. It's like I'm fighting for people to have a life that they love, a life that excites them. And I'm just fighting for people. And the greater the underdog, the more you doubt yourself, the more that you really just don't even believe this is possible, that the stronger that my fight is for you. and the more that I want to prove you wrong about how you see it. So just know that when you start to check out, because you probably will, when you start to feel lazy, because you probably will at some point, when you start to feel lethargic or numb or confused, you're probably going to feel all these things because your body is just wants to hold on to your current reality much harder than you even realize. But I want you to know that no matter what your limiting beliefs are, no matter what your self-esteem issues are, no matter how much you doubt yourself, and no matter how much junk that you have in your life that's getting in the way of your success, because let me tell you, it's not competition, it's not lack of money, it's not an idea, it's none of that. The only thing preventing you from success is you. You are your greatest competition. And once you get out of your way and once you end the self-sabotage, holy cow, take off the training wheels and turn on your freaking rocket, because you just freaking fly. And that's what I mean by hard. That's what I mean by all your shit's going to come up. And Andy, with that, I just want people to have the right frame of mind when they come into the foundation. You know, it's badass.
Yeah, it's don't look at this as like it's the answer, because everything that has kept you from getting what you want is still there, and it's going to come up again. Like everything that stopped you in the past is going to come up again. I think what's different is that you'll this time have the content and like the intelligent understanding of what it is that's coming up, and you'll have the community who's there to hold you accountable, and you'll have like your team leaders and your team to point out the blind spots that you can't actually see in your life. If you're building your business on your own and you don't have friends or family who are supporting you and helping you and believing in you, if you don't have that, you don't have people to point out the blind spots that are holding you back and that is causing that self-sabotage. So this isn't a magic bullet that's going to make the self-sabotage or any of that stuff going away, but what's going to happen is that you're going to be able to move through it in a way that you've never been able to do before. And when you do it once, it becomes easier and easier and easier. And that's what I think is so cool. The first $1,000 a month that you make is going to be the hardest point to get to, and everything after that will become easier and easier and easier for you.
Guys, I'm taking off. I can't wait to meet all y'all inside the foundation. Andy, I'll let you wrap it up.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Chris, if everything ever burns down to the ground for me and I'm in a state of panic, I'll probably have to reach out to you for some advice.
Hey, no problem, man.
Later.
See you, Dan.
So, thank you all for coming and hanging out with us on this Friday evening. Chris, thank you for just waking up and being such a rock star. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I know everyone on the chat does. If you're listening, please just send Chris a little note of thank you in the HIP chat if you don't mind. If you're interested in joining the foundation, so if you're interested, go to thefoundation.com right now and click apply. It's in the upper right hand corner. If you haven't done that yet, if you haven't applied yet, make sure that you go there. Let me see. Yeah. You have this weekend to apply. So this isn't some crazy scarcity tactic or anything. I really think stuff's going to sell out this year. So you'll want to be on Monday waiting for the email that we send out. We're going to open up. Yelena, can you tell me what time we open up? What is it, 2 p.m. on Monday afternoon? Yes, 2 p.m. our time. Is that Mountain Time? 2 p.m. Mountain Time is the time we open. It's going to be first come first serve. If you don't get in now, that's okay. We're going to be running more courses in the future. I don't know when the next one will be, but it's okay. So if you haven't applied, make apply. We'll be checking applications and stuff this weekend. Is that right, Yelena? We'll be trying to go over them this weekend for any last-minute ones that are coming in. Yes, says Yelena. She'll be working on this. So we'll be accepting them, Sunday, and then throughout next week if there is that space that's needed. So if you apply, you get accepted. For the people who get accepted on Monday, we'll be blasting out an email 2 p.m. Mountain Time on Monday. Put it on your calendar. At that point, we will be opening the doors, and when we say 120, it's 120, and we won't be accepting anymore. So once it's 120 hits, the sales page will become taken down. There'll be a waiting list for the next time that we pop around. It's just 120 people. Like we said, we with implementing the team leader program and having kind of it keeps us from scaling a little bit, but the amount of personal attention, it makes it so worth it. So Chris, do you have anything else left to say?
Not
Everybody
really.
was
I
thanking
can
you
hang
like
out and
crazy.
chat a little bit if people
What's
have
that?
some questions. But no, I think we should save some for Tuesday next week.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Totally, totally. Um, any other questions? Any other questions? Let me know right now, and I'll give it like another minute or so. But any questions about the application process, about any of that stuff that you guys would like to know? We'll give that a minute or so. Derek Jones, I'm so ridiculously pumped to start this. It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited for this class, guys. We haven't had this small of a class since the beginning. The first class was 88, and we haven't had this small of a class in 2 years now. Over 2 years. Tell the email. What are you saying, Yelena? I didn't quite get that. Cameron says if we don't get in next time, we're on a waiting list for next time. Yeah, if you don't get in on this Monday, we'll just put you on the waiting list, and then the next time we have one, we'll email you and let you know when it comes up. Or if you have any problems or questions with applications, Yelena is just working her butt off all weekend, and our email just support@thefoundation.com. She's rocking it out, and she'll be there. So if you have any questions or run into any issues or any of that. Brian asked, why such a small class? Really good question, Brian. What the issue we were running into is that we would do one launch a year with it. For the last 3 years, we've been doing one launch, and then what happens is people want to join sometime throughout the year, but we're unable to. And so instead of doing one big launch a year, we want to move to either 2 or 4 or something. So smaller classes and more space throughout the year, so that it can happen year round with people. That's what we really want to happen. And then just the whole team leader experience. Last year we experimented with it, and this year we realized how powerful it actually was, so we built that out more. Josh, you got an email. If you got an acceptance email, you'll get another email reminding you when class will open up. If not, make sure you mark 2 p.m. Mountain Time on your calendar for Monday. That's when it'll happen. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right. What is the average time commitment per week? I would say at least an hour a day. You need at least an hour a day to do it. That's what Carl did. I think it was an hour or two. If you go to thefoundation.com/transformed, you can watch his little mini documentary. He was working full-time at Tesla, which is 40 to 60 hours a week. And every morning he got up and did an hour a day. But it was like an intense, focused, clear hour of doing his highest leverage activities. We teach a strategy called the 20-mile march within the foundation, and it's about doing one hour per day of your highest leverage activities, and we can talk more about that. Derek Jones, I work a 9 to 6 job. Will I still be able to effectively act during the early hours of the day and later in the evening? Also live in Toronto. Do you think the time difference will make a difference? Derek, it didn't for Carl. And you starting at 9 is kind of nice because it gives you. He was up at like 6 a.m. every morning, I think. So I don't think it will, but it really comes down to the commitment that you have. It's your commitment. It's not actually a time thing. It's like a commitment from you that really matters more than anything else. Are you committed to that hour or not? Because if you are, you can carve it out in the mornings. Dan, what time do the classes meet? The teams, you'll get broken up into a team leader based off of your time zone, and then your entire team will get together and decide on a class that works for or a time that works for everyone. So it'll be based off of the time zone that you're in for the group that you met up with. Ash, for those who have been accepted and who travel for work equals me, is it possible to open a registration spot sooner? Ash, I'm sorry, it's not. We're not doing any exceptions this year for early registration stuff. Maybe you can have somebody else do it for you and sign up, or get them the information and let them take care of it for you. Josh, that's 4 p.m. Eastern for registration, if any of you. Thank you, Josh. URL for the sales page, that will be shared with you on Monday. We haven't put it live yet. Beautiful. That was kind of a little rapid fire Q&A session there. Email said 11 a.m. Pacific time. Huh. Yelena, is that right? Yelena, can you check on that for sure? Yelena will check on that right now and find out. And then I won't leave the call until you guys know. Chris, how you doing over there?
I'm all right.
Getting tired yet?
Yeah.
I bet, man. I bet. Do you guys have any last minute questions for Chris before we wrap? What are you going to do tomorrow? Sleep in?
Yeah, no, there's some, I don't know. My wife said we're taking our kids somewhere, like to some festival or something.
Nice. Sounds fun.
So my son Alex will be up at 7, so.
Oh, nice. Got it, guys. So the cart will actually, it is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 p.m. Mountain Time. I'm going to put all of this in here. The emails got it right. I didn't. I'm sorry about that, guys. 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 p.m. Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Sorry about that. Man, you'd think I'd be a little more with it on a Friday night. p.m. CT, and 2 p.m. PT. Derek says, one last question for you, Chris, then we'll wrap. How has your day-to-day lifestyle changed since finishing the foundation? So one last time, guys, noon Mountain Time. Noon Mountain Time is the card open. Make sure you've got that on your calendar. Sorry for the confusion. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so I still, I get up and I work, but I get to work on things that I care about and that are exciting to me, and that's a huge change. So one of the big problems about my business before the foundation is just, it's kind of hard to describe, but when you're, people probably relate, like when you're doing something that you don't really enjoy, there's all this extra wear and tear, like that just can exhaust you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the biggest changes about my days, is that they're exciting and I don't feel the tiredness from just a normal day anymore. So I haven't quite hit that point where I just get up and go surf or do whatever for however long I want. I still get up and go to work, but it's a lot different.
And when you do reach that point where you get up and go surf, you're just gonna get bored after a little while.
Yeah.
Like like once you discover like the why and purpose, the work is art, man. Work is like a creative expression of who you are and what you want to give back to the world. That's what's so cool. Like we put a lot of hours in this, and we put this in for all of you, because we know what it's like to be frustrated. Like I know what it's like to wake up every morning dreading your job, like drinking 4 cups of coffee a day because you can't stay awake at your desk because it's so terrible, like the environment of working in that, and it feels like it's just sucking the soul out of you, and every day a part of you is dying. Like I know what that's like, and it's awful, and I don't want that for any of you. There's nothing I love more in the world than seeing people excited and lit up by what it is that they're working on. And I actually don't even care if that means you're an entrepreneur or not. Like I love working with our team, and they've all got like the entrepreneurial bug in them, but some of them just like love working in a place where they can just work and do stuff that they love and not have to worry about building a business. And if that's you, man, more power to you. But if you want to build your own company, like we are here for you, and this is everything that we do is to help you do that. Awesome. So confirmed again, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, noon Mountain Time. Thank you guys all for coming on this. Went a little bit longer than we expected, an hour and a half. Thank you guys. This is, like we said, everything that we do in the foundation is because of you guys. Our entire team is devoted to you guys. And so whether you join the foundation or not, we want to wish you the best on you creating whatever it is that you want in the world. Um, just in terms of questions, there is a payment plan. And funds for that need to be available. So, any last words, Chris?
That's it. I gotta go, man. I'm tired. Thanks for having me on.
Chris, thank you again, man. Thank you so much. I know it's 4:30 there, and so you got to get to bed. But thank you for coming on and creating the time for this. I think so many people benefited. Love you, man.
Bye. Thank you.
Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye, guys. I hope you guys have a spectacular weekend. And for the 120 of you, or for those of you who do show up, I can't wait to meet you. We'll do our first hangout a week after this. Love you all. Boom. Later, guys.